3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Real Pineapple, and this is your humble host, Hunter, here. And I'm here with the pride of Idaho, the land of spuds, Scott. Scott, how you doing, buddy?
That's a great word. I love spuds.
Right? I knew you would.
I'm doing good. Excited to review yet another film with you two wonderful gentlemen.
And I'm here with Colin, the pride of Ireland. I can't even do an Irish accent, so I won't try. Colin, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very good. It's really fun that we're all doing this together again, I have to say.
And
genuinely enjoy
a couple weeks in a row. It's been awesome.
I feel a little spoiled, to be honest.
Right? And so we're actually going to be seeing each other next weekend, actually, for Labor Day weekend in the land of a whale's vagina, San Diego, which I'm excited for. Solid Anchorman reference, but there's like nothing coming out next weekend really, except for this one like really derp looking Christian movie, which I'll probably subject myself to.
There hasn't been a lot of good movies coming out lately. I would say
it's been a bit of a dry spell, but this movie luckily kind of changes that trend. We're talking about Good Boys, which Seth Rogen, and I gotta talk about Seth Rogen a little bit. I'm a huge Seth Rogen fan. I just think he is I just think he's a badass, and the fact that he is a leading man, it's pretty funny to think about. To be completely honest, the fact that this guy who's just a big stoner goon has turned into one of the most dependable hands in Hollywood. It's
the days of freaks and geeks. It would be hard to imagine that his character, that guy, was going to be a Hollywood movie star.
It's pretty crazy. And the director of this movie is Gene, I'm going to butcher this, Stupinski is what I'm going to go with. The only other credit as far as directing,
he did a couple episodes of The Office.
Yeah, he is a screenwriter on Hello Ladies, the movie, which I loved Hello Ladies. I thought that was a very underrated show. I love Steve Merchant. And he was a screenwriter on Bad Teacher, which I was not a fan of. But I will say, just to get out of the way, as far as my thoughts, I enjoyed the hell out of this. I thought this was a lot of fun. Scott, kind of your feelings going into this?
Feelings going in, it's. I feel like we've kind of we just watched Dora, which was which was a kids movie that was geared more towards kids than adults, but also still kind of played a little bit to adults. To this Good Boys, where it's kind of the opposite, where it's a kids movie kind of geared towards adults. And then kind of something for the kids in it. So I was interested to see how they were going to play that, it being R-rated. Because the other movie that Seth Rogen was a part of that was R-rated too was Sausage Party. And that was like over the top, like very graphic.
So I will say, and I realized that to quote Archer phrasing, I love Sausage Party. I mean, I like a good sausage every now and then, whatever. But I really enjoyed the hell out of Sausage Party. I will fully admit, the last giant orgy scene, I went, all right, I can handle a lot of shit, but even I was like, oh, okay.
Right, but I'm curious whether they're gonna take the R to the limit, or how much they're gonna kind of hold back. So that's what I was kind of looking for going in.
Colin, kind of your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, the marketing of the movie did a good job of kind of focusing on the fact that Seth Rogen was producing.
Yeah.
He was attached in a way. I think like going into the movie, I never really like looked into how he was attached. I was like, oh, is like him and Evan Goldberg directing? Did they write it? Like how is he attached? But really, he just produced it, which is surprising now that I'm actually looking into it. Which is great. He obviously had a hand in it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's surprising to see that this guy Gene Stupinski and then the other writer Lee Eisenberg, they basically like their most success they've had is working on The Office extensively, writing for that show. Gene only really directed a couple episodes of The Office. He has no credit as a director in 10 years. The last time he directed was an episode of The Office in 2009. So that's crazy to me that he was in charge of directing this movie. But getting into like first impressions, like, I liked his style. It was cool. It definitely had like, you can see that Office humor in like the writing. So yeah, Hunter, what were your first impressions going into this? Start of the plot and whatnot.
So for me, watching this movie, it was great. So me and my lovely girlfriend Alea saw the movie of Colin and his wife, Nikki.
My wife.
Yeah, Nikki, and I feel like we were all laughing pretty much all the way through. Like we were having fun with this, and I think this will fall into the realm, and I'm going to use this movie just as a comparison, of Horrible Bosses, where I feel like I'm going to need to watch this again because I was laughing so hard I know I missed shit. Because this movie, man, it's a lot of the humor is the fact these are kids doing fill in the blank. Like the movie gets by a lot on that, and I know if you think that's that's like kind of a lame, like a lame kind of way to get the comedy, then you'll probably won't be a huge fan of this. But for me, I just thought this was so fucking funny. I thought the kids had great chemistry, and Keith L. Williams, who plays Lucas, I will say, it reminded me so much of a young 11-year-old, 12-year-old Hunter. I was like, he's best friend. Like
he was just a big awkward Hunter.
Yeah, like he loves his mom, and like you're not thinking about sex yet. No, wait till you're 14, and just how he was like, no, like I'm just trying to do the right thing. And I'll be honest, it kind of made me uncomfortable how much watching Lucas. I was like, holy shit, this is me at 11 or 12 years old. Like, what happened? You were so innocent back then. But the kids had such great chemistry. So Keith L. Williams plays Lucas. He kind of looks like a young Craig Robinson, just with the hair. I was like, I could see him being Craig Robinson in 20 years. And
yeah, he's a big kid.
Yeah, no, he's a good boy. Wink. And
he's much taller than everyone else that's portrayed as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, he kind of towers over the other two white kids. Jacob Tremblay plays Max, and then Brandy Noon plays Thor, which I'm very happy he got the name Thor. No Mjolnir, unfortunately, but I think the biggest plus I can give this movie is the chemistry between the three good boys. You buy the fact that they're best friends, and I will say too, the movie has kind of a pessimistic but a very real message in the fact that, hey, if you're really close friends with people in 6th grade, you'll probably get split up because of middle schools, and you probably won't be friends anymore. I was like, wow, okay, that's a kind of bleak message, but I had to think back to kids I was friends with in 6th grade, and I went, yeah, I mean, I lost track with some of them, and I kind of appreciate the movie for being that blunt and being that real, if that kind of makes sense.
I think it was also funny, too, because it was kind of a playing on itself of, because everything that happens in these kids' day or few days is like so over the top and like a big deal for them that like I think in their little world being split up, even though it's not a big deal, like in in the big picture, for them it's like a huge thing. And I think it's funny because I feel like they're making fun of that kind of ploy as like, oh, we're done with high school, or we're graduating college and it's time to split up. It's kind of that old cliche, but I thought they played that out well. And I think like Keith Williams, Lucas, is probably the star of the show for me. He was by far the best, and they did all. I think it was like age appropriate as far as making. They didn't make these kids too old. I don't know if that makes sense, but if they tried to put maybe actors in these roles that were like teenagers and tried to play it off like they were in middle school or something, I feel like it wouldn't have the same effect, because these kids are kind of like awkward in their bodies and like themselves. It's like they're awkward kid. Like everybody is at that age. So it really plays through like a realness to it. But yeah, I think that the chemistry between them was probably one of the highlights for me.
Colin, kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think a movie like this, in the same vein as the movie 8th Grade, where
Love 8th Grade.
Yeah, 8th Grade's great. It's just like, so this one's more of a comedy, and it's definitely trying to be funny the whole time. Unlike 8th Grade, which is very serious. They're both just like, they just feel really real, like really authentic to like, yeah, that's how I remember being 12 was. Like, there was no punches pulled. Like, everybody was like figuring out the world. Like, they're trying to learn how to kiss on the computer. And at one point, they're just like, yeah, they didn't even kiss. The one guy just licked the woman's asshole. Like, so graphic.
So
but
good. So okay,
like when you're realizing all of that, like at the age, like, dude, you don't hold back. You say it all like out loud. So like, I appreciated how authentic and real it felt.
I will divulge a very Hunter moment here. So when I was, oh god, dude, so I would have been like 13. So I remember I saw the Samuel L. Jackson, the one of him and Christian Bale, that Shaft reboot they did in 2000, right? Huge fan of that movie still. I haven't reviewed it yet, will at some point. But I remember I was like, oh wow, I love Samuel L. Jackson. I would like to know more about the movie. So I remember I went on www.shaft.com on my fucking iMac, and the shit I saw on my screen, I went, whoa, 13-year-old me was not prepared for what Shaft.com was going to show me.
You were looking for Shaft and you got it.
Yeah, not that Shaft, unfortunately. I was like, oh, okay, shit. And I appreciate the fact that
when we were growing up, parents didn't realize the necessity of like filtering search engines.
Well, because like we came up in this kind of the sweet spot where they were still like very dumb to it all.
Everyone was learning.
Right. It's like, oh, actually, we know more about
parents.
the settings than you do at this point. So
yeah, we were learning about parental settings before.
That's like one of the first things you learn as an adolescent boy is like clearing the history and then like finding your way around some proxy or some shit.
Not a lesson I learned, unfortunately, until it was too late.
Yeah, well, you learn the hard way.
Dude, that's another story.
But my point is that like you were even able to like now like parents are like, anything our child touches like has to have parental controls.
Yeah.
So when I worked at this other job that that rhymes with Loftus Slacks, there we go. So I worked at this.
What do you think, Colin? What do you think the company was talking about?
I don't know, but they definitely can't sue for defamation.
Yeah, exactly, because I know the rules of slander, but
if you're a cop, you have to say it.
Well, it's a real thing.
Well played.
Yeah, sorry. That's had it in my back pocket.
But I remember I worked with this mom who brought in her laptop, and she was like, "Hey, my laptop's really slow," and I had no idea it was her son who was looking at shit, and I was like, "Oh, there's a lot of porn and ads on your computer." She's like, "Oh, I have a 15-year-old son." I was like, "Oh, I just timed you out. I'm so sorry." And she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go home and talk to him." I was like, "Well." So if that guy's listening to this podcast, I'm really sorry.
And like that's the great thing about this movie, because it's the age is where they're still like dumb and oblivious to a lot of the things that like are like some of the sex toys they were like confusing with like. I don't know, with a stick, or they locked the cop in a convenience store with one. But I like I said, like I like the realness, and I think that like that was able to convey. I don't think it was like a perfect movie, and I wasn't like busting out laughing the entire time, but it was I liked watching them more than like the plot or jokes that they had. Some of them right that could be a little bit lazy at points.
Colin, do you want to go through the plot here?
Yeah. Fuck, what happened to this movie? so the main point is the kids are trying to. Fuck, what are they trying to do, Hunter?
Oh my god, okay, fine, I got it. So remember, so basically...
They look a few twists and turns.
So Max, his dad, is played by Will Forte, which, fuck yes, what a great surprise. I love just seeing Will Forte in anything.
It was actually a pretty hilarious performance, too.
Yeah, he's really one of my favorite actors, and he's also in Booksmart, which, fuck yeah. But they never say his name. He's just this guy who has a corporate job and goes, "Hey, I'm going out of town. Like, don't touch my drone." So one thing
Well, he's just dad.
Yeah, Max's dad. He's saying, "Don't touch my shit. Just leave this drone alone." So of course, Max touches the drone.
What do you think happens next?
Yeah, so he touches the drone. So the drone gets destroyed because Max, Lucas, and Thor are spying on these two girls, Midori Francis, who plays Lily, and Molly Gordon, who plays Hannah, because they hear about them talking about sex and they want to know how to kiss. So Hannah and Lily go, "Well, fuck you, we're holding this drone hostage," and so basically Max, Lucas, and Thor have to get another drone, but they end up stealing the girl's Molly, which I haven't taken Molly, but I imagine it feels pretty great from what I've heard, but so
they took it as in they had it on their persons. They didn't ingest it.
Yeah, no.
Which I was kind of hoping for, but I get it.
Yeah. So it was so basically the kids have to go ahead and get a new drone before Max's dad gets home, but then they have to get new Molly, so they end up interacting with Hannah's boyfriend or ex-boyfriend Benji, who's played by John Kress, I'll say. And I think the thing that made me laugh the most about this movie, it's very much kind of like a Adventures in Babysitting sort of movie. It's like, okay, this happened, so now this happens, so now you have to gather these two things to go ahead and basically close the loop of what. I mean, that's really
you're so right.
Is.
No, you're so right.
And it's really funny to watch it because I'll tell you right now, one of my favorite action scenes of this whole year is when Max is shooting Benji and his like frat bro friends with a paintball gun. I went, "Oh my god, this is fucking wonderful!" And seeing Thor get punched in the face by a guy who's at least 18 years old made me laugh in a way I was not expecting. So, yeah, I mean, it's basically a big giant Adventures in Babysitting movie. I will say right now, Adventures in Babysitting, a movie I really enjoy. That's one of those movies I saw when I was 4 or 5. I went, "Yep, this still holds up." But this movie is it's very kind of out the box in that sense, because some of the humor goes really dark, and there is a lot of sexual content and a lot of sexual humor in this, but it all really, for the most part, works for me. And I don't know who Molly Gordon is. Can I just say, she is... I don't know. She's hot. Can I say that? Is that? She was in Booksmart, motherfucker. I knew I didn't recognize her. Sorry.
Why are you asking permission? Is because she looks young?
Well, because she was playing like a... How old was she in the movie? I can't remember.
She's like high school or something.
Well, it doesn't matter how old they are
then
in a movie. It matters how old they are.
I always remember that.
I get very paranoid. But
I thought we established that with Dora.
Oh, absolutely. She's, what was she, 18?
Oh, she's 23. She's 23. Perfect. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm good.
No, we're good.
Cool.
Yeah, she seemed older.
Yeah.
I mean, not like older, but she didn't seem in high school,
No, you're right.
at all.
Unlike Kevin Spacey, I want to make sure they're 18. Sorry, allegedly. Pardon me. but Colin, go ahead on kind of your thoughts on this.
Go off, Queen.
Yes. You know, I kind of have to disagree on the paintball shooting scene.
Oh no! Oh, here
it was
we
just
go.
it was.
Let him have
like
it. Let him have it.
It was kind of slapsticky. Like
the whole.
No, like honestly, like so. The movie that's like really easy to compare to this is Superbad.
Yeah.
And Superbad is amazing. It's like, I mean, it's easy to compare because that one was literally done by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. It's like their, original claim to fame as directors and writers.
It's their baby.
Yeah, it's their baby. And, clearly they were trying to send the message like, hey, this is like Superbad, but they're 12. Like when they're having Seth Rogen on commercials, like advertising it as a producer. And I was like, that's awesome. Like I was all for that. Like, and this movie does a lot of the great things that Superbad did. But the thing that Superbad did really well was like, while it's like, it's a bunch of just really great writing in Superbad. Like they never like crossed that line into like ridiculous. Like they never crossed the line to the point where it's like, I don't believe this could actually happen in real life anymore. Like, but the 12-year-olds all shooting the frat bros, and the frat bros are like, oh my god, I got hit by a paintball, and they like fall down. Like that it was like, it was funny, but it was like slapsticky, and it kind of took me out of like the realism of like what I was kind of enjoying in the movie. So that was my only gripe on that. But still, the kids carry the movie regardless. The kids are still carrying the movie. It still has great writing. It still has great dialogue between all of them. Keith Williams' scream he keeps doing.
Dude, it is so on point. It's amazing.
It's so incredible. That always got a laugh out of me because it reminds you that they're all 12. And that's the charming nature of this movie is that like it's R-rated and they're all fucking 12. Like it's incredible. Like it's really, really funny. So like while I unfortunately was like I had a high bar that I was measuring this movie towards, like I still loved like so much of what was going on.
Scott, kind of your thoughts, man. Talk to me.
Yeah, I do have kind of a take though for you. I think that it would have been smarter for them to bump this to like a PG-13 so more people could see it, and then take away a few of the fucks, and like because that's really there wasn't anything outrageous like besides them saying the F word like 90 times. But I think my take is that if they brought it down to a PG-13 and they made it a little bit, instead of gearing it towards adults to be or geared towards kids more, I think that would have not made for me made the movie better. But I feel like what I felt like they were trying to do the opposite, and I don't know if like I don't know if that I was able to, like with Superbad, I was able to relate to those kids. And this it's harder for me to relate to that, and maybe it's the same with Seth Rogen where he can't quite relate to that. So it's a little more slapsticky or what you think quote unquote kids like, but they didn't write it. So you never know how far that goes, but that's my take. I think that if I get the idea that it's kind of a shock and awe of having 12-year-olds swear, which I think I will be the hand up. I think it's hilarious, but I think they might have done better if they like catered more towards a kid's audience. But that's just me.
So I mean, I will say for me, I did recognize myself in Lucas because, I mean, I'm gonna throw it out there, and please feel free to tell me if you think I'm full of shit. They don't come out and say he might be gay, but just the way they kind of play his character, I went, you could kind of draw that conclusion. Is that just me, or like?
Well, I mean, not to like overturn old stones, but I mean that's probably why you saw a lot of yourself in him.
Damn.
Wow, from
Look,
nowhere.
I always
I'm just
Hunter. I feel like you've brought this up before, at least jokingly.
Oh yeah. Oh,
but,
absolutely. Yeah.
Middle school, high school, like people were like, "Is Hunter gay? Like he's never dating anyone."
Dude, if I had $1 for every time someone...
Like I knew you weren't gay because obviously you would have been all over me.
Duh.
True.
You guys have been such an item.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, we would have. We would have taken that school by storm. If it was 2019.
Well, I mean, I'm 32 and I'm still all over you, but no, it's funny you bring that up. Like, my dad, Papa Hunter, he got that all the time. He was like this like guy who had mostly female friends, who was super artistic, and that was the same mold I fell into. So watching Lucas, I went, oh man, I was like, oh, this is like looking through a mirror. It's kind of eerie to be. It should be a lake. That's how eerie it is. But watching this, I'm like, oh, I can hear Scott rolling his eyes right now. But watching it, I'm like, yeah, man, I kind of get that, and it's funny because Lucas is the one who goes through the most shit, but he's the most optimistic. There's a point where his arm gets broken because Hannah and Lily are chasing him, and so he's on a bike and he basically rams himself.
That's so funny.
He rams himself in the side of this I can't remember if it's like a
dumpster or something.
Yeah. It
really hard.
And breaks his fucking arm, so it's like fucking dangling there. And you're like, oh my god.
At least dislocated.
Yeah, at the very least. And so they go ahead and put this ball gag in his mouth where they put his shoulder back in place.
So good. The ball gag was a good joke. That was well written.
It reminded me of Game Night where Jason
the squeaky toy
classic scene. Exactly. Yeah, it's Bateman. There you go. Where he's biting down the shoe toy. Scene. It's really fucking funny, but a lot of the physical comedy does come from Lucas, and I thought Keith L. Williams. I thought he.
Yeah, that stuff's not slapsticky either. That's like well written comedy. Like I like that stuff a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of physical comedy does come from him, and I really enjoyed that. I will be the first to admit there's a scene later on, and I'm bringing up Booksmart because, again, that is a movie I fucking adore Booksmart. And while I think Booksmart is better, it feels like a lot of beats are similar, where there is a character at the beginning they kind of play off like a buffoon, but at the very end you go, oh, they're actually really smart and they're important to this plot. I was really happy to see Retta, of course, Donna from Parks and Rec, playing Lucas's mom, and Little Rel Howery, of course, Mother USA from Get Out. I love seeing him in this.
Dude, that's where he was from. Yeah. He's so funny. He's so good. He's the best. Like, I don't know if he's the best part of Get Out, but he's like, when his character is introduced in Get Out, it immediately goes from like super intense to like a comedy act. Like immediately, he controls the scene. He's really funny.
Yeah, no, like he's fucking great in this, and him and Retta only have a couple scenes together, but they are so fucking funny, and their chemistry is really great together. I'd watch them in a movie together, to be completely honest. So Colin will tell you,
Little Rel Howery.
I was laughing so hard in this movie. I do need to watch it again. There's that scene they show in the trailer where they're crossing the freeway, and oh my god, that scene. Is fucking gold, where these cars are like, oh fuck, 12-year-old, oh shit, and they're just like ramming into each other to go ahead and get across to a mall. The scenes with Hannah and Lily, how they kind of wrap up with their connection with the kids at the very end, getting to this big kissing party, which I have a story about that, but I will save that for another podcast. And
wait, what?
Wait, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And
Hunter.
And I genuinely, and I truly mean this, I love the fact that Max fucks up, the kids fuck up their first drone, so they have to get a second one. And so Max has to go ahead and get the drone into his house before Max's dad, Will Forte, gets back from his business trip. And the way he fucks up that house it's mwah, it is next level how badly he fucks up that house. And I dude, I was just laughing so hard watching this, and honestly, above everything else, the chemistry between the three, that carries the movie for me. I don't know if this will be something, and I'm kind of putting this almost as my ceiling at this point, because I do love the movie Tag so much, as I've talked about. This isn't as good as Tag for me, but I laughed, and Colin will tell you, really consistently from start to finish. I mean, there are a couple parts where I went, okay, but they did a good job, I think, of balancing the laughs with the kind of more emotional parts. Scott, kind of your final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it over exceeded my expectations for sure. I just honestly wasn't really sure what to expect coming in, but it exceeded them, but not to the point where I would be excited about seeing it again. I thought too much of it was more of like a gag slapstick humor. There were good parts in it, and I did laugh throughout, but I think I was kind of taken out of it every other scene or so where they would have something kind of like over the top silly happen, or like they had to, like, I thought the freeway scene was a little bit kind of silly, but I don't know. I just maybe was not in the mood for it, but it was fine. Like, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say on it, but I just think it was like I liked the acting for the three boys. I think their chemistry was really good, and they came up with some funny parts, but it just doesn't feel like a Seth Rogen movie that I'm used to.
Okay, Colin, kind of your final thoughts.
Should I give my grade, or should I just?
Go ahead and give your grade, man.
What do you think?
That's fine.
Okay, I'll start. I'm like, I don't think I have much more than what I'm about to.
No, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think what I was expecting was a Superbad style Seth Rogen inspired movie about 12-year-olds. And I think it delivered pretty well. I think I was pretty satisfied in the final product. I really didn't do much kind of preparation, and so looking at who was behind the movie exactly before I went into the movie. I just kind of went in blind, which I'm tending to like to do more these days. It's nice to just go into movies blind, kind of get a first impression, and then check it out. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that the director and writers, like Gene Stupinski and Lee Eisenberg, they really haven't done much in the writing and directing role in big budget movies.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised with what I saw. I mean, you can definitely see their experience in comedy working on The Office show in this. There's lots of great, like, awkward moments. Will Forte is a big star.
Oh my God, he's so good
in his role, in my opinion. Lucas's mom and dad are great together. Those are all good scenes. It has a good cast. They found 3 good kids. I love Lucas's character. So Keith L. Williams, the kid playing Lucas, he was in Last Man on Earth with Will Forte.
Oh,
and
okay.
He is incredible. He wears a Superman costume for like 2 seasons and never says a word. And then all of a sudden they find out he can speak and he's like super smart. It's like, yeah, spoiler alert, sorry. But he's brilliant in that show. And I'm glad to see that he got picked up to do a cool comedy movie like this that like I really think I enjoyed. The fact that it's R, I kind of liked it. Like, there's definitely some cheap humor in having a bunch of 12-year-olds like say fuck.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's pretty cheap, but it's still funny.
Yep.
like it's cheap as fuck, but it's also like fuck is funny. So so a bunch of little kids kind of, you know, watching porn and dancing in a sex swing at the end of a movie. Like it's pretty funny. Yeah, final thoughts, like, dude, I don't know if it was the best thing I've seen that could have been done in this manner, but it was pretty damn good, and it was pretty funny. I'm gonna give it a B plus.
Yeah.
Myself.
Okay. This is. So I will say, like, listening to, and you know what, Scott? You know, Scott, I'm gonna go ahead. Scott, I'm sorry, Scott. What did you give? Shush. What did you give it, Scott? Remind me. I'm sorry.
I didn't give it anything yet.
Well, you know, I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna save myself because I'm between two grades. So I'm gonna let you go first.
If I had to give it a grade, I would probably go like low B, high C, probably like a C plus.
C plus.
Yeah.
Oh man, I so picked your grade. I'm so proud of myself. So this is what I'll say about this. I really do believe the movie it's funnier than I thought it was gonna be. I thought the trailer gave away a couple of the jokes I wish they would have held on to. Seeing Lucas go ahead and get ran into that van, I thought was fucking hilarious. I wish they would have not put that in the trailer. So I mean, there's a couple scenes I was going, well, I wish you would save that, but the chemistry between the kids works so incredibly well. And there's a scene near the end I went, that's really sweet for where it kind of leaves the kids. And we haven't talked about him, but Atticus, who's played by Chase Hertzfield, I thought he was hilarious. I thought he just kind of being that cool sort of, almost like Yoda type character. Like, okay, man, like, you know, you do your own thing. I'm here. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So I'm gonna give. Oh, okay. I'm gonna give this a B plus. Is what I'm gonna give this because
Good grade.
thank you. Because I think if you see this at full price, you'd go, you know what, that was all right. That was good. I got my money's worth. But
Don't take your kids.
absolutely not. Like, no, this is.
So that was my other thought, is maybe the marketing ploy here was to be like, oh, this is for kids, but like it's naughty if you go and see it, so maybe you should sneak off with your friends and go see it, type of deal, you know?
Or like
Forbidden
they were
fruit.
saying, like, if you're the, like, we were cool to let you do this movie. Like, if your parents are cool, they'll take you.
Right. See, Seth Rogen is a good guy, and he's with
Yeah.
these kids. Like, you could probably.
You got to tell your parents, like, if you don't take me, then you're not as cool as fucking Seth Rogen.
Exactly. That's really all I got from this. But honestly, though, this will be something I buy when it comes out. Like, I mean, again, I feel like I missed probably a quarter of the jokes in the movie because I was laughing so hard. But overall, again, I think Tag and Game Night are probably two of the best comedies I've seen in a while. So it's not as good as those, but I thought the kids' chemistry kind of helped to get close, but not quite there. So, anyways, I digress. So, guys, have you seen Good Boys? The title alone is pretty funny.
This is a great name.
Yeah, I do love the poster, how it says you must be told to see this movie, how the kids are saying, you know, fuck and shit and pussy, like, almost every other scene, but they can't go see their own movie. Like, I like that marketing gimmick. I went, you know what, alright, that's pretty funny. But, guys, have you seen Good Boys? So let us know what you thought in the comments below. You can go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at
Nearmanthefirst.
You can follow Colin on Twitter at
TheReelOneal.
And you can go ahead and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Podbean, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, as well as Stitcher Radio now. So go ahead and let us know what you think of the reviews. We will have a review up this weekend for The Boys season 1. Scott, not the type of people you date, and we'll have a review up as well for Angel Has Fallen. I'm giving you guys a weekend off because I figure none of us want to go see Angel Has Fallen.
We've seen enough Fallen. There's been plenty of Fallens.
Yeah. You went through the first 2. I'll go ahead and finish the trilogy.
I'll probably watch Angel Has Fallen when I can't sleep one night, like a year and a half from now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when it's like on show.
Yeah, when it's on USA edited, you're like, oh sure, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I can't do USA movies.
Really, it's over.
It wears you down.
No,
it really wears you down.
It wears you down. Yeah.
Fair enough, but guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.
Meow.